drivers.
Would I rather be feared or loved? Easy, both. I want people to be afraid of how much they love me.
Matt Skraby wraps up a full day of live and local sports talk.
And that is the whole problem with aliens. You just can't trust them. Occasionally you meet a nice one, but usually they turn out to be some kind of big lizard.
The Skraby Show starts now on 97.3 The Fan.
Hello and welcome into the Skraby Show for February 9th, 2026. Thank you so much for joining me. We're going to be talking about a lot tonight. We're going to be talking about somewhat of the Olympics. So I'll update you on Finnmark and how many medals they have if you just missed the end of the show. Tony is hilarious sometimes. And we were just sitting here watching curling and then watching like freestyle skiing. And he was like, "Oh, isn't that the country? Isn't that girl from Finnmark?" We're like, "Finnmark," but yes, Finnmark is Tony's special country. We're going to talk about the Padres as well, and we're going to talk about the Super Bowl. The Padres have they told me something over the weekend, and I'll tell you what they told me in just a second. We're also going to go through MLB TV and the season pass and how it's going to work with ESPN. It's complicated, and I will fill you in on that, but it is complicated, and you're going to have to jump through some extra hoops to see what's going on this year for baseball. So I'll tell you all about that. It's like, it seems scary in the beginning, but once you kind of understand it, I guess it's not so scary. But it doesn't really, I don't really like it. I don't really like it at all. It's a lot of work. We started off with, let's see. We started off with on the chat. If you would like to watch the show, you can. You can go to YouTube, search 97.3 The Fan, search at The Skraby Show. Or you can go to X at Matt Skraby or Facebook 97.3 The Fan. But J-Mac said, Matt Skraby, Darnold's better than Purdy until proven otherwise now. I can't really argue with Darnold winning a Super Bowl. I think if you put Brock Purdy on that team, I think Brock Purdy wins the Super Bowl as well. But I can't put Brock can't put Brock Purdy ahead of Sam Darnold if we're looking at Super Bowls, okay? If we're looking at Super Bowls. Now, do I think that Sam Darnold could, lead a team and be the focal point of a team? I think we saw that he doesn't need to be. And that's not his job. His job wasn't to come in and be a guy who was going to light up the scoreboard. His job was to be a facilitator, a game manager, being a game manager, and don't turn over the ball in the playoffs. He turned over the ball quite a bit during the regular season, but Sam Darnold did not turn over the ball in the playoffs. And I think that is one of the biggest accomplishments of the entire playoffs, because that's not easy to do. You're playing the best defenses in the league. I would assume at some point you're going to get strip sacked like Drake May did last night. It's very difficult to go through. And it's very difficult to go through an entire playoffs without turning the ball over as a quarterback. So that's what he did. And Sam Darnold is a Super Bowl champion because of it. I don't want to take anything away from Sam Darnold. I know that there are a lot of people who do want to take stuff away from Sam Darnold. But you still have to. He still made throws. He still did what he needed to do to win. And it just helps that he has Kenneth Walker and Jackson Smith and Jigba, even though JSN was out for a lot of the second half. Sam Darnold did his job. So I'm not going to take anything away from Sam Darnold. I do think it's very strange when people are like, oh, well, he didn't deserve this Super Bowl. He didn't deserve the Super Bowl. Come on. He actually, last year, 14-3 with the Vikings, had a terrible playoff game. This year he wins the Super Bowl. So I'm not going to say anything bad about him. And I can't even compare him to Brock Purdy, because Brock Purdy is 0 for 1 in Super Bowl play. And Sam Darnold is 1-0 for Super Bowl play. I mean, I thought I was having a conversation with someone in the hallways earlier, and I thought the Super Bowl was not boring, but if you're going to have a game with very little scoring for most of the game, then I'm okay with having a historic performance like what the Seahawks defense did. Like I'm okay with seeing something like that because as long as you're seeing something that you haven't really seen before at a Super Bowl, or as long as you're seeing some great play happening, I'm okay with that. I'm not going to call it boring. And at the end, there was some scoring. The score definitely didn't reflect the game. But if you're looking at some of the stats, and I think Drake May is getting thrown under the bus for this loss. His linemen were awful. They were really, really bad. Like, it was historically bad for at least his left tackle. I think his name was Will Campbell. It was like Drake May had zero time to throw. Now, did he start getting panicked? Did he start playing like a second-year quarterback? Yeah, he did. He started playing like a second-year quarterback who was trying to make things happen because nothing was going right for him. And so in that regards, I do think that is unfortunate for him, because I don't really think that he is the one to blame for the Patriots doing what they did. I mean, the Patriots defense hung in there for a while. It just couldn't keep up. And through 3 quarters last night, Drake May was 8 for 14 with 60 yards and 1 lost fumble. He was sacked 6 times. His left tackle gave up the most pressures in a game all year. The first 9 possessions for the New England Patriots yesterday: punt, 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 fumble. Like, that's hard to watch if you're a New England Patriots fan. So I really feel bad for Drake May in this whole scenario, because it's not his fault. The media built him up to be the second coming of Tom Brady, and who knows? I think that he could be a good quarterback. But for the entire postseason, the offense scored 60 points in 4 games. And that's not a lot. That's not a lot. So they're going to have to figure it out. But they did get to the Super Bowl after having a terrible year last year. Seahawks, I think I can stomach this with the Seahawks winning, because they were indeed the best team in the NFL. So it's okay that the best team in the NFL actually won. And even the punter of the Seahawks was incredible yesterday. There were at least two punts inside the 5 that I can remember off the top of my head. And then most of those punts were placed perfectly for the Seahawks. That is like, when your punter is performing like that, everything is working for you. And the Seahawks, it was a game going into it. I think a lot of people thought there wasn't going to be much of a contest, and it wasn't much of a contest. But yeah. J-Max says the Seahawks winning in 49ers home has got to hurt a little bit. It doesn't hurt. I don't really care. As I said last week, Seahawks have 2 Super Bowls. The 49ers have 5. So come on. Keep winning Super Bowls, and maybe we could compare you to the 49ers. Let's see. Poor dude was seeing ghosts after the first couple sacks. How ironic is that? How ironic is it that Sam Darnold was famously heard saying on a mic, "I'm seeing ghosts right now," and then Drake May sees ghosts against Sam Darnold in the Super Bowl. What did you think about the Puka comment about Darnold? I think it's dumb. I think Puka needs to really Puka Nacua, if you don't know, right after some point in the game, right after the game, he posted a laughing, crying emoji that said Sam Darnold after it. And it was like insinuating, ha ha ha, I can't believe that guy, won a Super Bowl. That was a joke. And Ernest Jones, the linebacker for the Seahawks, said, "Aren't you at home right now?" kind of thing. So I think Puka is not very smart in that regard. Puka has been very strange in the last, 2 months. A lot of stuff has just followed him around. He had that whole thing with the live stream where he said that the referees like to be on TV, so they're calling penalties, which I have a friend who's a massive Rams fan and fully believes that Puka Nacua has hurt the Rams with the referees because they're not going to call pass interference on him anymore. But Puka, I don't understand. He just needs to stay out of his own way. He seems like a guy you can like, but I have not liked anything that guy has done in the last 2 months. And if I'm the Rams, I'm like, man, can you please get out of your own way? And I'm also thinking about, I don't even know if they can do this, but I'm thinking about taking social media away from Puka. He needs to figure it out, because you're just putting your team your team in a negative light. You're putting yourself in a negative light, and people and teams are just going to try to beat you because you trash talk them on social media. You got to learn. You got to learn. David says, I feel like Puka is letting his success get to him. Possibly. I mean, kind of, I can't say it seems that way, but it feels that way. I would think that, being a guy like Puka coming out of BYU, not being a really big name in the draft, and then coming on the scene as a rookie and just tearing up the NFL, and just the world is opened up to you when you're a Los Angeles Ram and you're playing in Los Angeles. I think that maybe Puka wasn't ready for all that success so quickly. Who knows? But I don't know. I would not be a fan of Puka Nacua if I was a teammate of his, because, and what about the live streaming in the locker room that he did during the season? And a player actually asked him to stop live streaming because it's banned to live stream in the locker room, but Puka did it anyway. But it just also looks like you're a sore loser when you put up a laughing, crying emoji and then Sam Darnold. It just looks bad. It makes you look like a sore loser, and it makes me feel like things Puka says I can't really pay attention to anymore. The funny thing is, the Rams were the best. They were the best team until that Thursday game in December, and after that, the Seahawks became the best. I mean, they took it over. I can't really take it away from them, and I'm not going to take it away from the Seahawks. Like I said earlier in the show, this edition of the Seahawks is much more likable than the version of the Seahawks with the Legion of Boom, because the Legion of Boom was in your face and they wanted you to be mad at them. But this Seahawks team kind of, they're much more likable. So I don't have any hatred towards the Seahawks team, but I will want my 49ers to beat them and win the division next year. All right. That's the Super Bowl. When we get back, Paul Goldschmidt was signed by the Yankees over the weekend. There's some news on the Padres. Also, we're going to talk Nick Martinez, Marcell Ozuna, and I'm going to dive into AJ Preller's head a little bit if I can. I'm not sure if I can, but we'll do that when we get back here on the Skraby Show, 97.3 The Fan.
There's a myth that
Matt Skraby broadcasting live from the Bill House Studios. We know how. Just got a bunch of Olympics on the TV. I didn't get a chance to get into this much, but if you're not using the Peacock app for the Olympics, then you're missing out. You are missing out because it is organized very well, and it is easy to find everything. So if you don't like the coverage, like I'm not a big fan of the coverage of the Olympics now that we have choices that they put on the main NBC channel at night, so you can rewatch everything, and you're forced into watching what they want to show you. But the Peacock app, you can go and any of the events that have happened throughout the day, you can go and just click on those events itself, and they give you the entire broadcast of that event, so you don't have to wait around to try and see something if you want to, like on the main NBC channel at night. So I would check it out if you are an Olympic fan, because it's been a kind of a game changer for me, at least. I've been watching all the stuff that I want to watch. I don't know how many people are actually into the Olympics, and I don't even really know why I'm into the Olympics, but I've always loved the Olympics, and my family's always loved the Olympics. That's probably why that I was in a family that watched the Olympics all the time. So anyway, there's your update on the Peacock app and the Olympics coverage. I approve of what they're doing with the Peacock app. I also have to say this, like when I imagine a Winter Olympics, I imagine the views that we're seeing here in Italy. Like these views are incredible. They got mountains everywhere, snow everywhere. This is the Winter Olympics look that I always envision, because I think it was 2018 was Pyeongchang, and they were struggling with weather and they didn't have snow, and I think when the Olympics were in Vancouver they didn't have snow, but there's plenty of snow. All right, done with the Olympics talk. Let's talk about the Padres. I think possibly I have figured out AJ Preller to a degree, a very small degree, because I don't think anybody could figure out what AJ Preller is thinking on a daily basis. The moves that he makes, like Andujar, you could probably identify that Andujar was a guy that the Padres should look at, but we had no inkling that was coming. And so that's kind of how AJ Preller operates. Everybody looks at the shiny object over here, and sometimes he does go after the shiny object. But lately, there's a shiny object over here, and AJ goes and gets someone from the other side, and no one really knows which way he's going. But watching guys like Nick Martinez and Marcell Ozuna go off the board this weekend, Nick Martinez going to the Rays, Marcell Ozuna going to the Pirates. Nick Martinez, I believe, $13 million for 1 year. Marcell Ozuna, $12 million for 1 year. And this is what it tells me. AJ is going to find the right deal for the right price. He's going to target hyper, what was it? Like hyper, how do I say this? He's just going to focus incredibly hard on targeted players that he wants. And so there's no use in me saying, well, I think he should get this guy, because I don't even know if that's someone that they're interested in. And by the way, there is a fake tweet going around saying that the Padres signed Zach Gallen. That is not true. I would love that if it did happen, but it's not true. So AJ is going to find the right deal for the right price. And I'm actually slightly surprised that Paul Goldschmidt went back to the Yankees, based alone on the price. $4 million for Paul Goldschmidt in 2026. And we know that the Padres were in it. We don't know the extent of how involved the Padres were. But if you're looking at the price, that is an AJ Preller price point right there. $4 million for first baseman, veteran first baseman at the end of his career. I think he still has a little bit left in the tank. So I was a little bit surprised that Paul Goldschmidt signed for $4 million with the Yankees, because I thought that was something that the Padres would be able to do. But now with Goldschmidt out, it tells me a couple things. It tells me two things really off the bat. First base is Gavin Sheets to lose. And the Padres are going to most likely have to get by with that unless they make some move that is on the horizon. But if anything, I think the Goldschmidt $4 million is actually a pretty good thing for the Padres because it shows me the market a little bit. Shows me a player who maybe isn't an everyday player but can hit for some power is worth $4 million or less. And so if Paul Goldschmidt's getting the form, if he was getting $9 million or $10 million, that would be an inflated market. And I don't know that Paul Goldschmidt would pay off for $9 or $10 million, but $4 million seems about right. And again, it shows me that that's how some players or some teams view older players with maybe something a little bit left in the tank. But $4 million or less is a good thing. But to hear the Padres, and here's the other part of it, and we talked about this last week. Well, we talked about Framber Valdez signing with the Detroit Tigers for 3 years and like $118 million. He's making like $38 million a year. But when you're talking about AJ Preller going after the extremely targeted players for the right price of, say, $4 million, that's one side. But the other side is that the Padres were in on the Framber Valdez sweepstakes, according to John Heyman, and that is pretty interesting to me. Again, we have no real way of knowing how much the Padres were involved with Framber Valdez talks, but to even consider bringing him in, talking, at least making the initial discussion, it tells me that they are not afraid to possibly spend some big money to bring in a really quality player for the right. They will bring in a really quality player, and they're going to be able to open up the checkbook because Framber Valdez was not cheap. I do not think that the Padres were ever going to go in the $38 million per year range, but I do think that it tells me they're not maybe as strapped for cash as we may think. The Padres payroll is already way up there. It's going to be over $200 million for 2026. So they're already on that fine line of crossing the luxury tax threshold. And if they're it seems like they're willing to go over that threshold if they're able to bring in a guy that's going to help them win a World Series. I don't think that Framber Valdez was close to being in a Padres uniform. We don't know. I would honestly much rather take my chances with a Zach Gallen because his last year was not great to Zach Gallen. So he kind of played himself out of a couple millions of dollars. So he'll be less of a cost than Framber Valdez was for the Tigers. But it just, again, it shows me if they're in on these guys that they aren't afraid to spend the money. And I think that's what a lot of us were afraid of. I think a lot of us were afraid that they weren't going to spend any money. And really this offseason, I guess they haven't really spent much money, and they've made some signings. I think, again, once they get to spring training and once things get going, they're going to bring in a lot more guys. And there are players out there that are waiting to be put on a team or to sign with a team, not put on a team. They would gladly be put on a team. There are players out there. Like I've been talking about Ty France for over a week now. I don't think Ty France is going to change the entire fortunes of the Padres, but I do know that Ty France is a good clubhouse guy, and he's not a terrible baseball player. I'm not sure why some teams don't want to hang on to him and see what he could do, but Ty France would be able to come to this team for a lower price. I do like Ty France in that regard. Have, a Ty France, Gavin Sheets type of first base situation. Not the worst thing in the world. J-Max says, AJ has shown that he's not afraid to sign players last minute to get a deal. That is true. And Nick Pivetta is one of those guys. Nick Pivetta's market was not great, according to all the people that know the market, before he signed with the Padres. And that's why the Padres were able to sign Nick Pivetta to the creative deal that they had last year. Now he's making a lot more money this year, but he put up a year last year that makes him, worth that sort of money. But last year they had a deal where he was going to get paid very little, and then he was going to get paid a lot this year. And that's the kind of things that AJ is good at doing. And AJ Preller is going to bring in those guys that maybe don't think their market is as barren as it seems. But each year in spring training, we see guys that come in, and it's not just the Padres. It seems like more and more guys are getting signed late in the process, maybe right before spring training or just as spring training starts. So it's not like this is, AJ is really behind on building this team. Again, they already have most of their positions set. They're just looking for depth now. They desperately need depth because they do not have great depth right now. Andujar helps on the depth, but they're going to have to figure out more Miguel Andujars, guys that are pretty good, but aren't necessarily getting looks from teams. So, hey, we'll bring you in for $4 million, that type of thing. Ty France, I think, would get $6 to $8 million. You know what I could do? I can go to Spot Track and see what their market value for Ty France is. And they're saying he's probably around the $1.7 million range. The $6 to $8 million I was seeing from the chat seemed like a little bit too much, because I don't know that Ty France has made a ton of money in his career. But last year he finished his season with the Blue Jays, and he was signed in 2025 to a 1-year deal with the Twins for $1 million, which was a free agent contract. His arbitration in 2024 with the Mariners, he was making $6.7 million. So it's looking like you can get Ty France for, what is it, pennies on the dollar? Is that the saying? You can get him for $2 million, let's say. I would do that. He's a good depth piece. Can play first base. Guys already know him. Everybody already knows his work ethic. I think that's a pretty good person to look at least. You have to at least look at. I'm sure that AJ Preller is doing that. Trevor says he's worth $4. Get him for $2. Good signing. Hey, I'm done. If that's the case, done is what I meant to say. Do that. Bring him in. He's not a Matt Carpenter. He's not a Jason Hayward. He's not a Nelson Cruz. He's not guys at the end of their career that are trying to see if they have anything left. I still think that Ty France has something left. And I wouldn't be surprised if we heard something about him sooner rather than later, because obviously spring training is starting. I actually saw Sammy Lev put up a picture of himself going to spring training and driving there with all of his stuff that he's going to have to live in Arizona for like 2 months. All right. Oh, I'm just looking at the camera and my hair is a mess. So if you want to see my hair being a mess, then you can go to my camera at the Skraby Show. You can see how what I look like, what the studio looks like, all of that. We're broadcasting from the Bill House Studios here on 97.3 The Fan. We know how. When we get back, I'm going to explain this whole ESPN MLB TV thing to you, and we also have the Daily Gripe, so stick with me.
Ben and
All guests on 97.3 The Fan join us on the David P. Shapiro Fan Hotline. David P. Shapiro, criminal defense attorneys helping good people regain control of their future when charged with a crime since 2010. Visit davidpshapirolaw.com. Matt Skraby here. Odyssey, Palace, Bill House Studios, I should say. We know how. 97.3 The Fan. Been talking Olympics, been talking Super Bowl, been talking baseball. And we're about to talk about the MLB TV subscription and how it's going to be available with ESPN. And so we need to talk about that a little bit before we get out of here for today. But I'm watching this, like, back to the Olympics. I'm watching this freestyle skiing. I don't know exactly what it's called, but they have a bunch of like rails and they have to jumps and they can go backwards and things like that. I was telling the guys in a break earlier today, I used to try to snowboard a lot. And I used to really, really, really want to be good at snowboarding. And so I'd go up with my friends and we would snowboard and we would all be pretty terrible at it. But I got the great idea. I wasn't like horrible. I could go down a hill for sure, but I wasn't great. And I haven't snowboarded in so long. I don't know if I want to because I'll probably end up hurting myself pretty bad if I were to do that now. But I was telling the guys that we went to like this snow park at Snow Summit or whatever, and they had a bunch of rails and they had like a half pipe, which I didn't do obviously, but they had all this like snow park where you get to go and you get to hang out and do cool things. And we were all watching snowboarding videos where they're doing tricks. And so we all wanted to be cool like that. But I wanted to do a rail real quick. And we're talking about snowboarding, everybody. But I went up on the little ramp. I got onto the rail. As I was going down the rail, I slipped off the rail and I came right down on my tailbone. And I got to tell you, I have never, ever felt before in my life where I was in so much pain that I was about to throw up. And that's exactly what happened. And I hit the thing and it hurt so bad that, like, I'm not even kidding. I blacked out for a second. And I didn't know what to do because I was just lying on the ground and it really, really hurt. And the next couple weeks were brutal. I don't know if anybody's ever like hurt their tailbone, which I think it's a weird thing that we do have a tailbone because we don't have tails. We may have had tails at one point, but you know what I'm trying to say. But it is painful when that happens. It is painful when that happens. Yeah. Bringing back those memories makes me feel the same way I was on that mountain. So if anybody is good at snowboarding and everything like that, I appreciate you because I will never try to do one of those rails again. Never, ever, ever, ever. Renee on the chat is just laughing at my misfortune, which I guess is fair because it did hurt. But anyway. That was not my finest moment on the snow. Renee said wakeboarding only for me. I tried wakeboarding one time. Well, a couple times actually. But I've always had a hard time with like water skiing. And so wakeboarding, I finally got up on the wakeboard and I was going a little bit and we got a little bit too fast. And everybody in the boat thought it was hilarious that I was freaking out. But I hit some, part of the water and went face first down. And that was also one of my last times ever wakeboarding. I am not one of those people that I am one of those people who will try things. I'm not one of those people who will be able to figure it out anytime soon. Rod says, I draw the line at skateboarding. J-Max says, no skateboarding for you. I've done skateboarding. I've also fallen very hard before. That was back in my drinking days. So that was just my fault completely. Trevor says, imagine if you were in skis and hit the rail dead center. I do not want to imagine that whatsoever, Trevor. All right, so MLB TV is always kind of confusing for people. And the Padres are, produced by Major League Baseball. I know a lot of other teams are going to be produced by Major League Baseball. But here is the title to the article on Awful Announcing that I saw. If you want MLB.TV this season, you'll need to jump through ESPN's hoops. Now, the title immediately got me to click because I like this stuff. But I think the title's a little misleading. But here we go. Initially, before all this with ESPN happened, it seemed like you were going to get to use MLB apps for MLB TV, but that is not the case anymore. For at least the 2026 season, fans will still be able to access MLB TV directly through MLB's platforms, but here's the catch. MLB TV subscribers will also need to be ESPN Unlimited subscribers to purchase the package. And I'm reading from the Awful Announcing article to make sure I get this right. In other words, MLB TV is now behind a double paywall. You'll need to purchase MLB TV, which is priced at around $150 per season for new subscribers and $135 for returning subscribers, in addition to the ESPN Unlimited plan, which is $30 a month. So you have to pay the $150 or the $135 for MLB TV, and then you have to pay ESPN Unlimited $30 a month. So you put that at $360. So now we're spending $510 around to watch baseball for the season. This is where their title is a little misleading, because there are some ways to get around this ESPN Unlimited mandate. And MLB TV offers a free month of ESPN Unlimited upon sign up. MLB TV subscribers can cancel ESPN Unlimited subscription during their free trial and still retain access to MLB TV throughout the entire season. If you have already have access to ESPN Unlimited through your cable, satellite, or virtual TV provider, there's no need to pay the extra $30 a month. Additionally, if your MLB TV subscription is set to be auto-renewed from last season, you will not need an ESPN Unlimited subscription. So I say this, all of this, to say baseball has made it very confusing on how to watch your team. There are going to be many angry people, I feel like, because they're not going to be able to figure this out. And I don't blame them for being angry. Because as Awful Announcing points out, there's going to be subscribers, MLB TV subscribers, that are going to be fooled into paying for the ESPN Unlimited subscription that they don't need, either by failing to cancel during the 1 month free trial or paying the $30 a month when they already have ESPN Unlimited included in their TV pay bundle. Long story short, ESPN and baseball are trying. Well, I'm going to say this. ESPN is trying to confuse us into paying them more money, because how many people know if they have the ESPN Unlimited subscription already that is included with your cable TV or your virtual TV? I don't think a lot of people know that. Like, I would have to go check and see if I had access to that. I don't think I do. I don't get CBS Sports Network, so I guess I wouldn't get ESPN Unlimited. But this is where I'm a little ticked off about this, because it's the whole having to pay now to access your sports is, and you did have to pay a little. You had to pay before, but now we're really getting into the muck, M-U-C-K, muck, where you're trying to kind of muddy things up, and it's not very straightforward, and it's confusing, and you're maybe going to opt in for something that you're going to pay $30 a month for and you don't need it, or you're going to forget to cancel your subscription and then it's going to automatically debit. This is not good, and they're going to have to figure this out, because people should be able to easily watch their team. And it doesn't seem like people are going to easily be able to watch their team if you have to jump through all these hoops. Jay says, I have to pay $510 to watch the Padres. No, let me start that over. You don't have to pay $510. You might have to pay up to $510 because you have to pay for the MLB TV subscription, and then you may have to pay for an ESPN Unlimited subscription at $30 a month. So say you just do it for the baseball season, 9 months. It's less than $500. But if you have none of these and you want to watch on the MLB TV app, then you're going to have to get these. Chuck, that is a great comment. All these microtransactions make it atrocious. That is a great way of putting it. Microtransactions. That is exactly what this is. And it's no different. I signed up for a trial of something years ago. I'm trying to remember what it was, but it was a streaming service, and I can't actually remember which streaming service it was. This was back before cancellation laws were in effect. But they made it so difficult for me to figure out how to cancel my account that I actually just gave up and kept paying them. And this is how I think this is going to go. People are going to end up giving up and just paying. And people are going to pay when they don't need to pay. So I'm just tired of it. I'm tired of all the extra costs. I'm tired of having to pay a bunch of money to see my team. I'm tired of having to download a bunch of apps. Like, I know the whole cable thing was getting out of control, and I do like streaming, and I do like the apps. I could stream. I don't mind streaming. It's the millions of hoops that you're jumping through to make sure that you can watch your sport, and then it's also to make sure that you can't find a way out, so you continue to pay. Trevor's asking, I'm not going to get my Padres channel on my DirecTV. You will. This is for MLB TV only, MLB.TV. So people that watch online or watch through an app or something like that. Like they don't have Spectrum or they don't have DirecTV or anything like that. And so they have to watch it MLB.TV, which is how I watch it a lot on my phone. I watch it on MLB.TV. Now I'm going to have to download a bunch of different things to try to figure out how I'm going to be able to watch it on the ESPN app. It's a lot. It's a lot. Jay says, I have not watched ESPN in years or have cable in years. I guess I won't be watching this year. I don't think you're listening, Jay. You can pay, this isn't any different. MLB.TV was always around $150 for the season. So that's not any different. The difference is you now have to sign up for the ESPN Unlimited app, and you might have to pay to use the ESPN Unlimited app. So, Jay, I don't know how you were watching yours before, but if you were, say, watching it on DirecTV, going to be fine as long as you keep paying for it. But if you were an MLB TV subscriber, it's going to be a little different for you. Clay says, I'm going to figure it out when the season starts. I believe I will be fine. I think Clay's probably right. You will be fine. And I know that was confusing, but that's what they're going to have us do. So we got to get on top of this right now.
What's annoying Skraby today? Let's find out. It's time for the Daily Gripe.
See, Jay is a streamer, so Jay is going to have to probably deal with all of this stuff with MLB TV and ESPN. Now, again, there are caveats to this. There are caveats. But go to awfulannouncing.com. You'll see it on there. And you can read it for yourself. Maybe that will make it a little bit more easy to understand. All right. Here is my daily gripe for today. I went and golfed over the weekend, and I played actually really well. Front nine, shot a 40. 2 birdies at Mission Trails. It was one of my better starts to a golf round ever. And then I fell apart and shot 51 on the back. But anyway, 91, I'll take it for not really playing too much. But here's my daily gripe. Golf tip guy. I can't stand golf tip guy. I've been playing golf since I was like 3 or 4 years old. And so I have I know what's going on in the golf world, and I know I'm not great. So the golf tip guy is very annoying because I didn't ask for your tips. So if you're someone out there and you're like, hey, I give tips, make sure you know the person that you're giving tips to, because I don't need random golf guy tips. I was at a driving range like months ago, and this guy was watching me, and I was like, why is this guy watching me? And he just starts going, well, if you put your shoulder here and you blah, blah, blah. And I was like, thanks, got it, kind of thing. But he wouldn't leave me alone. Don't be, as Clay says, unsolicited golf tip guy. That is my daily gripe. It's very annoying. I'm not great at golf, and I know that, and I'm okay with it. So I don't need tips. All right, that's it for me. Talk to you all tomorrow. Have a great night, everybody.
Nobody knows Santa